All right. I'm going to give everybody a minute to jump on here before I get rolling. Hi, Cindy. Hi, Rose. Sophie. Just going to give it a minute before I start talking here to give everybody a chance to, or at least some more of you a chance to join me before I get rolling. Oh, Jude. Amanda. Urban Nest. 9 others joined. Marty. Eileen. Loans in Life. Raina Harrison. Hello. Hi, Jay Briz. Kristen B. Hale. Hello. I love Anakin. It's a great name. Anakin. Happy Monday. Loans in Life. Urban Nest. I don't want to mispronounce anybody's name. Nahalia. We Three Ravens. Hello. Meet the Shermans. Lorraine. Daisy, 3 others. Diana, hey guys, I'm just giving it a minute so everybody can, well, not everybody obviously, but whoever can join can join. Because I know there were some people on other platforms who said they weren't able to join today at this time. Hey guys, hi Rachel, hi Laura, I apologize. Somebody scrolled by who said hello. Wait, let me see that. Warpath, hi Warpath. Mrs. Emmy Shell, Coach Lynn, Mama by the Bay. Hello, Sun-Kissed Mama, hello. Holly. Good to see you. Again, I'm just going to give another moment here before we get rolling. Sacred Dream Weaver. Hi, good day to you too. You guys have no idea how upset I am right now. God bless my wife. I mean, I love her so much. She just dealt with me being super emotional before coming here to talk to you. Julie Machin? I don't want to mispronounce your name. I apologize if I just did. Let There Be Life 11, Chelsea 821, Lauren Shaw, the Avis fam. Hey guys, Mrs. Hannah Bowie, waving back at you. All right, so my name is Ethan Behrman. If you don't know much about me, I've been in the media. I've been in talk radio. I think I started. It was 2011. KSCO in Santa Cruz, California when I lived there. Hi, Chelsea, 821, and did miss you on KGO. Tim, miss you on KGO too. So I worked my way up into the San Francisco market, KGO. You heard me there as well. And you see me on Fox News all the time, usually 2-3 times a week. Laura Ingraham, Fox News at night. You'll see me on the Fox Business Channel as well, Making Money with Charles Payne. I've been on a lot of the shows. You see me on Tucker Carlson. They actually called me Friday. I couldn't join on Friday. 'Cause I know all these people now, and I go on the shows. I'm the California liberal who goes on Fox News, CNN, Deutsche Welle, all over the place. And that's great. And if you hadn't heard me, nice to meet you all, right? That we've met each other. So here's the story of why I'm talking today. Somebody said hi to their mom. I love that too. And my wife is on here. Hello, Amy. And you should follow my wife, by the way, prettydial.co. It's in my bio, PRITIDYAL.co. She's a coach and a teacher and a Kundalini yoga instructor and NLP, and she's amazing. She's why I'm in media, by the way. I want to take just a moment to thank my wife. I love her. I think we were on our second date, maybe, and she said, "Why are you doing this computer?" I was a computer nerd, hardcore computer nerd. My whole life, been a nerd. Research everything, go deep, math. I was at the University of Minnesota in 8th grade for math. Perfect score on my ACT in science. I was one of those kids. So my wife on our second date is like, "You should be arguing politics on TV. Let's figure out how to get there." Great. And here we are. So I do all of this stuff because I love my family. I love my country. I was a Boy Scout. I joined the Army. Follow my wife. NLP is awesome. She's helped me so much. You have no idea. I also separately work with a coach in addition to my wife being my lifetime coach. Sometimes you need to reach outside. I have inspirations like Shaman Durek, Shifu Wangbo, Guru Jagat, Guru Singh. I like people like Randy Spelling and The Driven Inc., groups like that. I follow a lot of people. I'm really into health and wellness. I always have been. I exercise. I'm still wearing my shirt this morning from running. And yeah, I blew out my shoulder during basic. I have a huge scar. But I mean, I'm concerned about doing what is best, making our country better, always trying to build something that we can always do better. I try to connect with other people so I can understand other ideas and positions because I'm always growing. We're never done learning, ever. The day you're done learning is the day you might as well die because there's always something we don't know. There's always, Randy's fantastic. He's such a cool guy. So what I'm not going to do today, I just want to be very clear. I am not going to belittle. I'm not going to say nasty, negative things. And I always encourage you to stay away from threatening people or using really mean words toward another human being. I'm going to struggle with that regarding one or two of our leaders in this state today, okay? Because it matters. We must lead with positivity if we want to effect positive change in the world. So if you're leading with negative statements towards somebody, Dr. Pan, for example, it's work to not use negative words. Let's focus on the positives and what we can do to make change. So something you also don't know about me, I know it's so hard, but don't use the negativity. Don't give into it. Don't do that. Then we will have a negative change. We got to use positivity to make change. That's one of the things I loved so much going last week to the protest in Sacramento. I have been interested in, like I said, health and wellness my whole life. I have two children, an 11-year-old, a 7-year-old, one of whom, I'm going to repeat some of this who were watching me last week, but one of whom has an autoimmune disorder. We're pretty sure it's not connected to vaccines because the onset of her type 1 diabetes was 4 to 6 months after her last vaccine. And I totally agree with you, Parental. The law of attraction is powerful and real. It's true. Believe it. Live it. I don't care what your religious beliefs are, but being positive, every major religion, every major belief system talks about being a positive example in the world in some form or another. Let's be that. So I have these two children. I'm just going to start. I'm fully vaccinated. When I joined the Army, I got like 9 shots in 2 days. Most years I get the flu vaccine, although through this whole process I remembered that I had a 15-year break where I didn't get the flu vaccine because I had a reaction once and got really, really sick after the flu vaccine, but I still get it. And so I'm not going to use extreme language and absolutes here. Here's what I do know. Our Constitution talks about things like liberty. That's the federal Constitution. The California Constitution says the same. Liberty. I'm going to get all legal for a second. Oh, that's what you guys might not know about me too. I graduated law school. I went to one of the most competitive, difficult evening law school programs in the entire United States, fully accredited. Loyola Law School of Los Angeles is part of the Jesuit system, the Loyola Marymount system. I went to the evening program while working full-time with a family. I graduated in May of this year. Why I went to, systemic reactions. I know. It's almost impossible at this point. So It's Bubbly said, sometimes systemic reactions take a lot of time to show, but I appreciate your willingness to be open to any possibility. And I get that argument. We have some family history with like type 1, type 1.5, other autoimmune disorders, diabetes, that go back generations predating vaccines. That's the reason I'm very hesitant to go down that path too far. So life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Absolutely. So I've studied the law in depth. I graduated law school in May. I took the California bar exam in July. We don't get the results back till around Thanksgiving, so I can't tell you that. I also am a contributor. I worked with the Deputy Attorney General, the state of California, on something called the California Antitrust and Unfair Competition Law Treatise. I'm a contributor to that. I get the law really well. Ask any of my law school professors what it's like to argue with me in law school. So, I saw that video from VA, Dr. VA Shiva, right? So I think Janny organically, It's Bubbly Janie organically published that earlier. And it was very interesting. So there are questions about vaccines. And my issue isn't vaccines as a whole. I'm not going down that path. I am not an anti-vaxxer. I think that there are always questions. With any medical treatment, there are side effects. There are those who don't respond well. The human body, every human body is different and unique. I have allergies to cats. You might not. My immune system is different from yours. Vaccines will affect my body differently than others. Heavy metals that are found in vaccines will affect my body different from other people's bodies. Maybe my liver is really great at processing out heavy metals. Maybe yours is not. The problem I have is not vaccines as a whole, and I know a lot of you don't either. You're worried about your kids, and that's my problem in all of this. So, and they are liability-free products going back to the National Vaccine Injury Court that was created. I can't remember the name of the act right now, from 1985. It was enacted in 1986. We said to the vaccine manufacturers, we're going to free you of liability. I know why the government did that, by the way. And it's a lot more complicated than we want to think. Because if there are side effects, which there are, from vaccines, and I'm able to sue them because my child was injured, then drug companies will stop making an effort to make vaccines. And our government decided we wanted vaccines. And so therefore we created the Vaccine Injury Court, which has paid out, by the way, to date, last I checked, over $4.2 billion has been paid out. Thank you. National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act of 1986. Thank you, Thriving Family Health. See, you guys are helping me out. I love that. Thank you. My problem today is Democrats in California. I'm a Democrat. I'm a liberal. That's what I do. My priorities have more in alignment with the Democrats than they do the Republicans. And I'm in no way impugning Republicans. Many friends who are Republicans. I'm friends with a Republican National Committeeman, for example. I'm friends with Republican political strategists. I'm friends with somebody who actually works for the RNC in Washington, D.C. So I'm not that guy. I absolutely believe and embrace debate, discussion, connecting with people who disagree with me so I can understand their position, because connecting with other humans is how we grow, is how we become a better country, how we become a better community, how we become better and stronger as individual human beings is community. So that's why I don't shut people down because I disagree with them. And I agree with you. It's not 1 in a million, by the way. I don't believe that it's 1 in a million. Here's why I don't believe that vaccine injuries are only 1 in a million. Because that's what they say on the court's website. I've read it all. It's more than that. My child was injured by a vaccine. We know this to be true. We know this for a fact. She has an autoimmune disorder. We had held off. Yes, and I understand a lot of these arguments. We held off. My children didn't get vaccines for the first year or two of their life. My daughter, she was probably a year and a half old when she got her first vaccine. She was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes shortly after turning 2. You want to talk about the scariest day in the life of a parent? I almost swore there, and I'm not going to swear. Freaked out. Your kid could die if you don't manage this. Oh my gosh, her body doesn't make insulin anymore. The rest of her natural life until they find a cure is dependent on people and equipment outside of her body to keep her alive. That's type 1 diabetes. It's permanent. Your body doesn't make insulin. It has nothing in common with type 2 diabetes. So whatever you think of type 2 diabetes has nothing to do with type 1. They're absolutely separate things. Shortly after, it was a couple of years ago. I'm trying to remember what year I'll have to look this up. Maybe it was 2016. For the first time ever, she got 2 vaccine shots at once. And 2 days later, she went DKA. She'd never gone DKA, diabetic ketoacidosis. And then she went, and so, maybe it's the pump, maybe it's the insulin. Great. She's in the hospital for 3 days. She came out, comes home. She went for almost another week. New pump, new insulin. We changed out insulin bottles, everything, new pumps. DKA again. So it's within that 30-day window. She suffered a vaccine injury. Never reported to anybody that it was a vaccine injury. Talked about it with our pediatrician. Didn't want to talk about it being a vaccine injury. Didn't want to hear those words. talked about maybe getting a medical exemption. Ooh, I don't want to give a medical exemption. And now, as we find out with SB276 and SB714, which I read in full now, we're no longer in charge of our children. So I'm gonna quote you a couple of things. I look at this very differently. One of the things that people have said throughout my career, yeah, I know, and I saw that on the insert of the MMR, thank you, Garden by the Beach. A number of people have sent me this. But it was the timing that was off. And again, we have some family history with diabetes that predates vaccines. That's why I don't think, maybe it helped trigger it, but it was going to get triggered at some point by something, whether it was the vaccine or something else. But the vaccine injury, the DKA, no question, that was a vaccine injury on my daughter. And where we are with SB276 and SB714, why I finally decided to really speak up and make an issue of this now, is the Democrats in California have shut down the discussion. You can't disagree. So last Monday, a week ago today, I was in Sacramento with some of you, and I was live streaming and interviewing you and giving you legal advice on how to handle the CHP officers there who were arresting and also telling you an untruth that you can't film them in public, which you absolutely can. So I know the law. I already walked through all of that. But here's what it is. Our doctors no longer will give medical exemptions. Our pediatricians won't do it. My pediatrician wouldn't do it with an obvious vaccine injury that happened with my child. So we're having to fight tooth and nail. And the Democrats are shutting it down. It's beyond that. It's more than the Democrats in the state of California shutting it down. And no, I'm not leaving the Democratic Party. I believe that change must come from within. I understand the argument. I've been independent at various times in my career as well. I think it's better to work within the system to change the system than it is to say, no, I'm not going to do that now. And that's a whole other discussion. I don't want to spend the time today on that. Doctors are afraid. SB276, I'm actually picking up my laptop because I want to quote this right. SB276 removes, so they're creating a state board of unelected people appointed to review if your school has too many exemptions, if your doctor's given exemptions. By the way, that's not the only time they can review. When you read the detail of the bill, which I did, any exemption is revocable by the state board now. Any exemption is revocable by the state board. We are no longer in charge of our children. This is a problem because, now hear me out, I've always viewed things a little bit differently from other people. And I actually had somebody in the talk radio business who hires and fires and all that kind of stuff say, you ask questions that other people don't even think to ask. So I have a different view on things. And I know there are attorneys who are going to be filing suit on SB276 and SB714. But we have three main United States Supreme Court decisions on this topic. One of which you're going to think is totally off base, and it's not. But I wrote about this in my book. I have a book that I wrote a few years ago called Liars and Whores, How Big Government and Big Business Are Working to Save Their Own Assets, Not Yours. And in one of those chapters, I talked about education. I love teachers. I think it's one of the most honorable professions, along with nurses. Love nurses. I love teachers. God bless you all, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. If you're going to teach my children, you're willing to do that, you're willing to invest and help my child become the adult and the human that they can develop to be, I love you. Nurses have a way worse job than doctors, much harder. They're the ones who are actually on the front line dealing with us when we're sick. I love you, nurses. Thank you. There was a 1925 Supreme Court decision, Pierce versus Society of Sisters. It was actually the state of Oregon that tried to stop people from sending our kids to private school. This is 1925. Fundamental right to make decisions for our children. The Supreme Court ruled in 1925. Okay? And that is how, so the state tried to say, and your daughter's a math teacher, bless your daughter. And our representatives are failing us right now in California. And it's a combination of money in politics, and it's a combination of hubris and this horrific amount of God complex that's happening with a couple of our senators in Sacramento. Looking at Pan and Wiener in particular right now. I think it's awful. I think it's horrible. What I witnessed last Monday shook me to the core. And I'm not talking about the protesters. I saw moms, I saw grandmothers, I saw wearing white, being peaceful, maybe saying some strong things because they believe so firmly about this. I met children who were vaccine injured. I met children who weren't vaccine injured. I met moms who love their children or worried for their children. That's what I met last Monday in Sacramento. And I saw leaders who refused to listen to constituents. Leaders, think about it this way. State Senator Weiner, who didn't write the bill, it was Dr. Pan who did, liberal Democrat from San Francisco, clearly supports, and I do too, by the way, the Stonewall riots for LGBTQ rights in the United States of America. Did he call those people names? Did he think that they were wrong for rioting? They actually rioted for LGBTQ rights in the United States of America. He celebrates that. But he viciously demeans and attacks moms looking out for their children. Instead, what he should have done is he should have found some leaders. He should have talked to somebody like Jani Organically, for example, and said, tell me about what your concerns are. I want to hear you out. And we must talk to people as elected leaders, even more than media people. Elected leaders need to talk to people. And says, it's not a vaccine issue. It's God bless America. That's the way I can avoid swearing. Garden by the beach with what you just wrote. You talk to people you disagree with, you hear what they have to say, and maybe you still walk away not agreeing. And that's okay. Instead, he demeaned the people who were there. He makes fun of them. He mocks them. He says he's afraid. But he supports the Stonewall riots. He supports people rioting in the streets, not moms peacefully protesting at the Capitol. I've got a serious problem with that. This country built into our First Amendment freedom of assembly. We're supposed to be able to petition our government. Freedom of religion, free exercise clause. These are really basic fundamental rights. Nothing is unlimited in this country. Everybody gets that wrong. Oh, the First Amendment says this. The Second Amendment says that. They all can be abridged. It's called strict scrutiny. When the government is, that's how the Supreme Court or the courts are supposed to analyze something. If you're going to violate a fundamental right, they apply something called strict scrutiny to analyze it. Anything that violates some of these fundamental rights you're supposed to apply strict scrutiny, unless there are certain exceptions. It's really I'm not going to give you a whole law school class on it right now. But the point is you're going to intrude on my religion. So as we find out, aborted fetus cells. So I'm actually pro-choice. That's a whole other discussion. I'm pro-choice on the liberty concept of women's liberty, her right over her own body. That's the same basis that we're talking about here. With vaccines for our children, we, through the agency of our children, have rights to control over our children. I'm going all over the place right now because I'm also responding to comments as we go by here. But let me go back to this. The Supreme Court has upheld the absolute right of the parents, a fit parent, by the way, a fit parent. So, if you're really mentally ill and you have to be committed to a psychiatric institution, our society has said that you maybe don't have rights to fully parent your child. If you are unable to care for your child and your child's become a ward of the state, you're not a fit parent. The very narrow exceptions. The overwhelming, I would suggest that everybody I saw last Monday in Sacramento would be deemed by the state a fit parent. We have absolute right. I want to read to you because there's another Supreme Court case, and I want to get the language exactly right. It was Traxel v. Granville. It was a Supreme Court decision in the year 2000. Liberal Supreme Court, by the way. Liberal Supreme Court still. Liberal majority. The Supreme Court ruled in favor of the parents, but their quote was this, and I think this is really important. No court is unfit parent. That aspect of the case is important, for there is a presumption that fit parents act in the best interest of their children. In every other medical decision with our children, parents know best. Your pediatrician, have you noticed anything about your child? What do you know is happening with your child? This is always the case. We, involved fit parents, know best for our children. We don't always know everything. Oh, that case name? Thank you for asking. Pretty healthy house. That case is, I thought it was an A. Troxel v. Granville, 530 U.S. 57, came out in the year 2000. Troxel, Troxel v. Granville, Granville. And now we've gotten to a place where not only does our pediatrician not know what's best for our kids, we don't know what's best. This is in violation of Troxel v. Granville. This is in violation of Pierce versus Society of Sisters. And I'm going to tell you, here's the unique take that very few attorneys are thinking about, and I'm saying it publicly. So here you go. This also goes right to Yick Wo. It's a very famous 1886 Supreme Court case. It had to do with racism in the United States. It had to do with, and I apologize, I can't add people. I'm so bad at that for joining me on the live. So you just have to comment and I'll do my best to address it. Yick Wo was a San Francisco case decided by the United States Supreme Court in 1886. And it said, so the city of San Francisco, county of San Francisco, passed an ordinance regarding laundry. It had to be done in a brick building. Well, only white people had brick buildings to do laundry. The Chinese immigrants did not. They had wooden buildings. Facially, it was a neutral statute that it was not discriminatory on its face, but the impact and the intent was still discriminatory. I believe SB276 falls under Yick Wo to revoke the rights of parents to control our children. The Democrats in California, again, have this all wrong. They shut me down. They pulled my press pass because they didn't like me. I'm going to do my best to save this live this week, okay? Perry Wynn. I know last week, whatever. I'm learning. Right? That's what we're supposed to do. Continue learning each and every day. Grow as individuals and human beings. And who's Dorit? I don't know who Dorit is. And, but I believe that this is a violation of a fundamental right that's happening with SB 276 because the actual impact, the real impact, what is actually happening in society is anybody who feels like there should be a medical exemption for our children, our pediatricians, the pressure is so extreme that the reality is they won't write medical exemptions. We have that amazing video that the California Freedom Keepers had pushed. A bunch of you shared the link with me. They contacted something like 800 pediatricians' offices. Not one will grant a medical exemption for any reason. So the reality is you can't get a medical exemption. Worse, pediatricians are scared. Even worse, I no longer have Dorit is pan in female form. I'll debate anybody at any time. And if you've watched me on TV, you sure know that. I'll debate Tucker Carlson on any topic. I'll debate Laura Ingraham, Dinesh D'Souza. I don't care who the person is. I'll debate him. Again, ask any of my law school professors. It's unbelievable. Trust me. In my law school graduation, the speaker, who was one of my classmates, joked about the fact that I do that. I will argue anybody. Dorit is Pan's buddy. Great. If somebody wants to coordinate that, I'd be happy to participate in a debate. And again, I'm not an anti-vaxxer, so don't ask me to say vaccines are all bad. I don't think that they're all bad. I think that there is a time and a place and a reason to have vaccines, and that most people's bodies are able to process them in a way that seems to... I'm fine. My body's been great. I'm fully vaccinated, do it regularly. But back to the point here. They've taken away our ability to be parents to our own children. We have the right, according to the Supreme Court of the United States of America, to make decisions for our children as long as we're fit parents. We're fit parents. You and I are fit parents. And so Democrats shutting it down, then pulling my press pass, Senator Toni Atkins from San Diego, the Senate Pro Tem, it was her office that pulled my press pass that day. Now, here's an interesting side note. I want to bridge over to something that's been going on. You wouldn't believe how many people have been silently, quietly reaching out to me. Very well-known, very successful lawyers who had a vaccine-injured child. Very well-known people in media have talked to me about it quietly behind the scenes. People are afraid of speaking out. I actually interviewed Robert Kennedy on my San Francisco radio show one time. I would love to connect with him, actually. So if somebody has an inside scoop on connecting me with him and his group, I would love that. we're at that point. I'm putting aspects of my career on the line by speaking up right now. All these people are afraid to speak up because there's a blacklist. For anybody that speaks against pharma, the vaccine industry, the money that our pediatricians are making, the money that pharma is making. Remember, the research that they're doing on vaccines, which, again, I'm not against. I don't like aborted kids being used as the underpinning for doing this. Again, I'm pro-choice. I absolutely support people's religious objections to vaccines based on if they're pro-life. I do. I think that that's your right. Under our laws, under our Constitution, if you're a devout Catholic, if you're a devout Jew, if you're devout, whatever, and you absolutely believe that life begins at conception. See, I don't. I believe that once the soul enters the body, once there's consciousness that happens, that's where I start having issues with abortion, and the mother's life should be at stake. Before that, so first trimester, the soul hasn't entered yet. These are long religious discussions that we're not going to go there. But I support your belief. If you believe it begins at the moment that the sperm and the egg meet, and you believe that that is the beginning of life, I support you in this country to believe that, and I support your right to object to a vaccine created with an aborted fetal cell. I do. I support it. I don't agree with you, but I support it because that's what we're built on in this country. That is a fundamental. And we left the king because we weren't allowed to disagree. If we disagreed with the king, he could send his men into our homes and arrest us and sort through our papers. And that's wrong. And we can't be there. And that's what's happening in California right now is people are afraid to speak up because you're silenced. You're blacklisted if you speak up on this topic. And I consider that fundamentally wrong. And I've got a problem with my friends who are Democrats who are doing that. I've supported Senator Scott Wiener on many other initiatives in this state. And I am 100% against him on this topic. Absolutely against him. Why am I willing to speak out with all... That is... Hang on, who asked that? The Urban Nest. I would like to know why you are willing to speak out with all the blacklisting. That's a good question. Because I think it's the right thing to do. I feel like there are times in life... I don't speak out on everything where I feel like it's not worth speaking out. I'm speaking out on this because you're talking about my kids. Talking about potentially my grandkids. You're talking about the state directly interfering in my relationship with my children. I'm a fit parent. I'm highly educated. I'm mentally fairly stable. I've had to have psychological batteries for numerous jobs and all kinds of stuff in life. So anyway, I'm stable. I'm a fit parent. But I'm speaking up because it's right. And there becomes a time when you start saying an unjust event in the world and you do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. And I mean, look, I'm some of the argument. Are there other topics that have this serious of consequences if you speak out? Well, so there are certain things that I'm not interested in entertaining: white supremacy, racism, superiority of one group over another, that type of stuff. Yeah, you get blacklisted if you're going to be participating with a neo-Nazi group. You absolutely get blacklisted, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, there are other things. But this is the only one where I think that there's a really rational discussion to be had. And you get blacklisted for it. This is one of the most unjust things I've witnessed as a parent. So it's a fundamental right to raise our children as we see fit. Again, it's been repeated by the Supreme Court many times. So I've had all these people behind the scenes reach out to me and say, thank you for talking about this. But they won't talk about it. They won't. You see what's happened to people like Jenny McCarthy. You see what's happened to... there is a rational discussion to be had. I agree. I think that there's even arguments on the science. And here's my other argument that I always make about science. Science is not settled. There is no such thing as settled science. I get mad. So I'm actually an environmentalist. I'm actually one of these people that says we've got to cut back on pollution. We've got to stop with all the toxins in our environment. We've got to stop poisoning ourselves to death. I'm totally against glyphosate and Roundup, and I believe in organic farming. I believe in regenerative soil agriculture. I believe in non-GMO. I'm a total greenie when it comes to stuff. I'm a big fan of geothermal energy because that's the only clean renewable base load power source. I'm about all these things. I'm about making our life better. So I'm an environmentalist, and at the same time, you're talking about potentially poisoning. You're talking about potentially injuring my child. You're talking about all these things. So people are reaching out to me quietly behind the scenes. Now, interesting. I wanted to share this with you too. I don't know if you noticed all the headlines about the protests in the last week. Politico, I thought, misrepresented. I went after that San Francisco Chronicle reporter. Somebody said something about glyphosate. Glyphosate is in vaccines too. Well, we're not going to go off on the glyphosate discussion right now. Just be clear on this. I'm totally against glyphosate. I'm against a lot of our agricultural chemicals. And what a lot of you don't know about me, I grew up in the Midwest. I grew up in Minnesota. I lived in farm country. I know farmers. I know ranchers. I get why this stuff is happening. A lot of it is money. A lot of it is control. So control allows you to make more money. The big agri-giants are about controlling the food supply, and they're able to do that in certain ways. And it's not control in a nefarious way. It's control in a very simple way. Money. It's all about money. It keeps going back to money. Follow the money, and you start finding out. Please make this video shareable on Facebook. I will do my best. So I've had people reaching out behind the scenes. That's why I'm speaking up now. But reporters are misrepresenting what happened with the protest last week. And I went after that San Francisco Chronicle report. I'm like, why would you say it's anti-vaccine? The majority of you who I met last week, yes, it's money and greed. It really is simple. Politico is the organization that wouldn't publish RFK's response to the article they published by his relatives. That was Politico? Oh, I thought that was like the Atlantic or New Yorker or something like that. What was that comment? I truly feel it's bubbly. I truly feel your whole life and everything has happened has stacked your creative deck for this moment in history. Oh, I believe that things happen in life for reasons. Whatever. I don't care your belief system. It's I believe things happen, and they put us in positions. I agree with that. Like I had things that had happened in my life that led me to the day that I met my wife, for example. I believe that those things happen. Next step to overturn. So let me finish the thought about the reporters, and then I'm going to get to that. What's the next step to overturn 276 and 714? Reporters are misrepresenting what's going on. I'm speaking up about that. I've been going after them. We have to keep speaking up. I want to give a piece of advice, though, and I know this is hard. We're talking about our kids. We're talking about the health of our children. We're talking about the state reaching into that relationship between us, our children, and our pediatrician. I have to implore you, watch your language, be as positive as possible. I started the video with this. Yeah, there is no debate on vaccine safety. Yeah, I know. Science is never settled. Oh, I didn't finish that thought. Science is never settled. We're always learning. Guess what? Science was settled that the Earth was the center of the universe. Science was settled that the Earth was the center of the solar system. Science was settled that gravity was exactly as Isaac Newton described, until Einstein proved him wrong. And we've discovered there's such a force as anti-gravity. Science was settled. Science is only settled, and that is what we know today, and a majority of scientists agree on something. That doesn't mean they're right. One of the reasons I bring this exact idea up is forever. So I'm just old enough. Some of you are too. Remember ulcers? Oh, it's stress. Oh, you're eating spicy foods. That causes ulcers. Do you remember that? And did you know there was a doctor who spent, I want to say it was 20 plus years saying, it's not stress or spicy foods. It's actually bacteria in many cases. That's what an ulcer is caused by. He was called a crackpot, a kook. He was nuts. They did everything to silence him until one day, a couple other scientists followed through on what he'd been saying for 20 years and like, oh yeah, we identified this bacteria that causes ulcers. Now you take an antibiotic for it. I believe that there's a lot of that going on here. I know Germany is protesting right now. By the way, Germany also announced they're banning glyphosate in 2023, and it's owned by Bayer, who bought Monsanto. They're hurting one of their own giant companies by banning it, and yet they did. We could learn something from that. So we've got politicians. We've got it's the money to the politicians, the money to the doctors groups is why the doctors groups went along with this. They make a lot of money from the vaccine visits, the wellness visits, all this stuff too. There's money coming at it from every angle, and the reporters are in on it too because they want access to those politicians. You guys have no idea how hard it is to book a politician for an interview. As I've done my own producing on some of my own shows. To drink the bacteria and develop an ulcer in order to prove them right. Right. Oh, that's right. I forgot that aspect of it. He actually did it to himself. Thank you. Where was I? I lost my train of thought because I was back to that ulcer topic. So here we are. We've got money happening. Why reporters do this thing where they give and they allow headlines to be written for them. They allow certain arguments to happen unchallenged. The vaccine topic, for example. They're doing that because many of them depend on their access to the politicians. They need to be able to interview State Senator Scott Wiener, for example, when he's got a bill about adding housing to the state, which I supported, by the way. We need we're short over 3 million units of housing. So the reporters need access to the politicians, and if you are going to go against that politician on something they feel particular about, they're going to give you the cold shoulder. I've never agreed with that. I have argued with every politician who has ever done that to any reporter ever. You can go back through my many years in the media. I've been consistent on this topic. That this idea that a reporter needs to play along, play nice, for you to grant access is contradictory to our First Amendment. By the way, it's not party specific. Republicans do it. Democrats do it. Everybody does it because egos and money are at stake. So that's why I give very little slack to these reporters who are misrepresenting what's happening in Sacramento because they're looking to keep their job too and to have access to these politicians. Look, trust me, when I was driving home from Sacramento, I called my wife. I was like, I have to run for state senate to kick these people out. They're awful. I don't know that I'm going to do that right now. I don't think I am. Actually, let me make this definitively. I'm not running for office right now. Okay, guys? But that's how I reacted. I was like, my God, how can these people act like this? I know I would like to get together with RFK Jr. So like I said, if somebody knows how to connect us, let me know. Ethan at ethanbehrman.com. I agree. I think we would be powerful together. I now have the legal credentials as well to go with this, and I have a very creative streak in terms of how to apply the law, and I know how to argue, as you know. So DM him. You think? Okay, I'll DM him. I'm not gonna run for political office right now. I'm just not. I flirted with it. Here's an interesting story for y'all, by the way. How did I end up in law school? Well, I was on the air in Santa Cruz, actually, before I went to San Francisco. That's how I ended up in San Francisco radio. KSCO Santa Cruz. And check my DM. Okay, thank you. We need you in the press, not the legislature. Thank you! I love doing this. I love talking to you. And I love going on TV. Oh, by the way, I know I'm already booked Wednesday night, Fox News at Night with Shannon Bream. I'll be there Wednesday night. I never know the topic ahead of time, by the way. I'm sure I'll be on with Laura and Charles Payne again this week and everybody else. I ended up at law school because when I was on the air in Santa Cruz, I was really involved in a lot of local issues. We had a horrible 10-term incumbent, congressman at the time. And, thank you. I will follow up on those DMs. Don't run and it'll ruin you. Exactly. So I'd been asked to run for Congress against the 10-term incumbent Democrat. And I'm like, I'll run as a no-party preference because I'm sorry, my friends, I'm not a Republican. My priorities are things like I want to make sure everybody has access to health care. I served in the military. I've fired AR-15s, and I don't believe that AR-15s should be in the hands of civilians. I just don't. I mean, so my priorities are different. Although I do believe in accountability. I want to know where my money is going, and I believe that we have a real problem in government of accountability. So I have certain alignments with Republicans. And I fully believe in religious liberty, which somehow my Democratic friends have moved away from recently. And that seems to only be for Republicans right now. I was asked to run for Congress. I looked into it. I had already read bills. I had argued with people like State Senator Bill Monning at the time, and I knew the bills better than he did and the science behind it. I was asked to run for Congress. I looked into it. I said no. My wife said, go take the LSAT. You should go to law school. I took the LSAT. I did well. I got recruited. So I went to Loyola Law School's evening program here in Los Angeles. We sold our place up in Santa Cruz, and we moved down here to Los Angeles, and here we are. Well, thank you. I consider myself balanced because I think about every issue on its own. That's what's missing with everybody. 11 Charlie, by the way, since Zana Velds was asking me what was my MOS. Fort Benning, Georgia, Sand Hill, Charlie 254, basic training. Summer of 1991. And I could show you my destroyed shoulder. Back in the early 90s, they still did this horrible surgery where they just chopped you apart when you blew your shoulder out. Anyway, what do we do next with SB276 and SB714? That was asked before we run out of time. Well, first off, before I even answer it, thank you so much for watching today. You have no idea how much it means to me. I'm so thankful that we're pulling together as a community to talk to one another. And I love that you're following and that you're watching. Do me the favor. In media, it counts how many followers I have. It's a weird form of currency. So share what we've got going on. Help me ask other people to follow. Here on Twitter at Ethan Behrman, Facebook, Ethan Behrman Show. So it's like facebook.com/Ethan Behrman Show. You'll find me. Give me a follow, share, subscribe, spread, whatever. Just thank you so much for following. So what we do next, we work together. We support one another. We use positive language to help people get educated on how this is a violation of our fundamental rights as parents. We work with the different groups who are filing the lawsuits to try and get SB276 and SB714 overturned. I believe that there are strong constitutional arguments to overturn these. I will check my DMs to reach out to RFK Jr. Support these groups. Support other people who are here. Again, use positive language with one another. It's a human rights and civil rights issue. And we went through some of that earlier. So I will do my best to save this, save it to IGTV, share it on Facebook. But it's about, again, this is really about our rights as parents and our kids, and we know best for our children. And I don't understand how this became a partisan issue. And we got to get engaged. We'll keep our voices going. Whoever that person, that woman, by the way, really quickly, that woman that threw the blood on Friday, if it was really blood, I guess I haven't even seen confirmation of that. We will stay positive. Keep doing your positive movements. Don't get angry. It's easy to lose your temper. Oh, I'll post it on my YouTube channel. You can find me Ethan Behrman on YouTube as well, okay? Ethan Behrman Show. It's a human issue. But she was a plant. I thought the same. But here's the thing. Hang on. Chrissy Helmer just said she was a plant. The woman on Friday. Because all of you are wearing white. And this woman shows up wearing black. What a load of crap that was. That she was representative of the protesters. Oh, you think it was Jell-O shots? It might have been. I lived in Santa Cruz. And how do I say this without offending somebody? Somebody's going to get offended. There were certain people who would protest in Santa Cruz to get people riled up. I lived there the year that the anarchists trashed downtown on May Day, for example. So I was not surprised that she came from the Santa Cruz area. I was disappointed. I love Santa Cruz to death. I miss Santa Cruz. I love my friends in Santa Cruz. So many wonderful people in Santa Cruz. But that woman was awful, and she hurt our cause. So whenever we see something like that, we will need to do our best to stop them as well. Never attack somebody. Stay away from the attacks. That's the most important thing. But continue communing with one another. Stay in touch with me. I want to do another one of these again. So you guys will send me your questions. I know you are because you sent me a million. She was so wrong. And for the media and State Senator Weiner and those people that focus on her was so unbelievably wrong. We got to keep writing letters to the governor. But remember, the way to frame this, because there are debates with vaccines, don't focus on that. okay? I really believe that that is the wrong approach, right? Speak truth with kindness. Bless you. Living life with Jen. That's right. This is parental rights. In every other situation, every single other situation, parents know what's best for their children. Doctors defer to us to know what's going on with our children. This is that one instance where they're like, we don't give a crap what the parents say. We don't even care what the pediatrician says who maybe knows the kid. A state board is going to know best. Wrong. This is a parental rights issue. This is a basic liberty issue here in the United States of America. The Supreme Court is on our side. Not only that, again, to my friends on the left, I keep making the argument, if you're pro-choice, the basis of Roe v. Wade was liberty. The liberty of the woman to control her own body. It's the same thing here. We're controlling our children's bodies. Controlling what the state is putting in it. We fought long and hard in the 20th century to stop the state forcing medical procedures on people that they didn't like. Look back. There were forced sterilizations. There were all kinds of horrible traumas and human rights abuses placed on individual Americans by our government. We stopped that. Let's stop it here. That's what we're talking about. It's my right as a parent. There's an issue here with my child. I've seen this. I'm concerned. I want control over my child. The state says, no, you don't have control over your child anymore. That's right. Liberty to control our own bodies. Danny C., California. So please stay as focused on that aspect of this as possible. Don't get lost in the weeds of the debates over even vaccines at this point. I've had a vaccine-injured child. I'm concerned about my child, the immune system. They've done this, they've done that. In my case, I have an autoimmune disorder in a child. I'm worried about the vaccines. Let's stay focused on it. Hey guys, thank you so much. By the way, if I'm slow to respond, it's because I'm getting so many messages right now. Please be patient with me. I will do my best. I knew it. Same here, Richter Nest. I will do my best to respond to you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm genuinely sending you love. I know somebody else sent me a message about prayers for my family. Thank you, and I'll be thinking of all of you as well. But stay positive, stay strong, stay in touch with each other, stay in this community, be positive, engaging with others who might disagree with you, who might challenge you. Don't go negative, don't go low, don't say horrible things. Do stay positive, do stay focused on liberty and the constitutional right, as the Supreme Court has ruled as recently as 2000, and our rights as parents. Support the organizations that are going to fight this in court. Support each other. Always do your best to be positive. Remember, what we make of the day is up to us. It's really up to us. Thank you guys so much. Again, send me your message. I'm going to do another one of these soon. I'll let you know. I'll try and give the heads up on the date because I really enjoy talking to you. Thank you guys. Thank you. And I'll talk to you soon.